How long? How long do you have a time frame? We can do however long you want.
What is usual? What's standard?
15 to 20.
Sure, let's do it. If
Cool.
it goes over, that's good too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sure.
I got all the
Because
time in the world, man.
don't get me started talking, because you'll be sorry.
That's funny. All right. Hey everybody, welcome to the Three Geeks podcast. Well, the two geeks, we have Dillion Dilligaf with us. How you doing, Dillion?
Hey, I am just fine, Justin. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Can you tell the folks a little bit about you? I've been researching you. I know a bunch of it, but I'd probably better coming from you. Great.
That's I'm not a real braggadocious kind of guy, but I've been doing stand-up comedy. Actually, I'm doing sit-down comedy because I'm limited to a mobility scooter, and so I call myself everyone's favorite sit-down comic. So it works out pretty good. I haven't run off of a stage yet, which is really good. But so I've been doing comedy kind of professionally for about the last 10 years. And a couple years ago, I hired a manager. You know him. His name's Tim Chismar. And the goal was to take my comedy to the next level. Tim was absolutely amazing. And not only did he help me advance my comedy, but he also facilitated and wound up getting me a lead character role in a motion picture that just has come out. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But some more about me. I've been disabled since I was about a year old, and I grew up in a family with five other siblings. So there's six of us. And I jokingly call ourselves the six pack, and I was the dented can because I'm the only one with a disability, right? So growing up like that, I wasn't cut any slack. For example, when you have a lot of kids in the household and my mom says we're going for a ride, I got to figure out a way to beat everybody to get the front seat. So I got real creative, right? So so I grew up. I got to mainstream in the school system, the only disabled kid in the mainstreaming in school, and then I went to college, and I reacquainted with one of my high school flames, and we were married, and we were married for 44 years. Can you believe that?
Holy cow!
It's probably older than you are.
It 100% is.
Yeah. So unfortunately, a couple years ago, she passed away. So I am.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I had nothing to do with it. People look at me. Well, so people look at me like, well, all right, did you have anything to do with it? I go, no. I said, why would I do that? I just had her trained after 44 years. Why would I want to start over?
That's right.
All right. So I've been focusing on my comedy and my acting, and I'm just having a great time. Yep. That's kind of a thumbnail sketch of Dillion Dilligaf.
That's awesome. So I love your last name because I found out what it meant. I would love for you to tell folks why Dilligaf is a last name.
Well, a couple of years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that I needed a stage name because my real name wasn't going to really work too well. So I'm sitting here at my desk, and I have this patch on my bulletin board that says Dilligaf. And I didn't even know what it meant. And my son, who's also a geek, he goes, you know what that means, Dad? I go, no, it's Dilligaf, Dilligaf. Do I look like I give a fuck?
That's so good. I didn't know. I was like, oh man, he has an interesting last name. Then I did some more research. I was like, oh, that's not his last name.
So, I'm an older guy. So when I tell people on stage, it gets a real good laugh because nobody really expects that. They figure, hey, that's his real last name. Kind of odd, but weird, So, but it gets a lot of laughs. And the Dillion part, it just sounded, it kind of flowed together. So I spell it a little bit differently, but it just kind of flows together. Dillion Dilligaf, right? So
that's awesome. No, I love it. It cracked me up immensely when I first read it. I was like, oh, that makes sense. So comedy, it sounds like it's kind of a later in life thing, but what kind of drove you to it? What is there some things you've enjoyed? Like, is there clubs you've really enjoyed? It's like they had different atmospheres, something better or worse than others?
Well, to start off with the first part of the question, why did I get into it? Well, I was always in school. I was always the class clown, right? And so I had my working career. I worked for the government for 30 years, and I was always the MC of any luncheons or anything like that, and did comedy and some magic and stuff. And so I retired, And a couple years after I retired, my wife said I needed to find something to do because I was bugging her. So I thought, hey, I know what I do. So I went and bought a book, How to Be a Comedian for Dummies. And,
Nice.
right. So I found myself a comedy partner, and I started doing comedy about 10 years ago. And God bless her soul, she went with me to every single open mic. And I don't know if you've been to some really raunchy open mics, but oh my God.
I'm not. It's rough.
Yeah, it's really rough. So then you asked me about clubs that I like performing in. I like clubs that I can get my mobility scooter up on the stage. There's a lot of places that are not accessible. And
Sure.
so I have to like do my whole set in front of the stage, which is okay because I tell folks that I'm bringing comedy right down into their face, and I'm right down there with them. But yeah.
Have you developed a whole bit of ADA compliance? You should be like, guys, we have to really fix this.
Oh, well, so here's let me just get this thing real quick for you.
Yeah.
So one of the things I do is I talk about. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
I talk about that I wasn't always a comedian. That I used to be a famous model, and I was an international model, and I hold on. Let me get the right one. I have these slides that I show, and they go over really well. But so I always, this is my, so I gave up modeling because as you get older, you gain some weight and you get older and stuff. But this is my most famous photo. Right? And so
free parking wherever you go.
Oh yeah, right. So then at the end, so I have a bunch of slides that I show, and sometimes I'm able to get them up. They'll have a projector or something. They project on the wall, which is much better. But then I end it with, "I'm doing good."
I like that a lot.
Fuck you. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm an older guy, so I can't do some of the raunchy stuff that the younger people do. So my comedy focuses more on my disability, things that I observe. Just family. I do a lot of stuff about family. And so, I'm not talking about, I don't spend a lot of time on male and female genitalia because it's not something an older guy should be doing. But so far, I've been having a lot of success. I've been doing a lot of shows lately. It's a blast. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I did want to ask one thing before we get to your movie around, I saw you had a drive-in comedy show. Excuse me. How was that? Was that during COVID? Was that really what kind of spurred?
It was. My partner at the time, he has a comedy club, and because of COVID, we couldn't have people come into the building and take part of the comedy show. So he said, "Hey, I know what to do." So we partnered with this company that had a big parking lot, and they had a building with loading docks, and so we had a stage installed. And we had people come in with their cars, and it was absolutely a blast. You've been to comedy shows, and you know that the comedian always asks, "Hey, where are you guys from? What states are you from?" and everything. Well, in a drive-in comedy show, you can pretty much tell because you see their license plates. So, hey, you're from
these
Texas.
Rentals? Yeah.
Yeah, that must be a rental, right? So, and instead of applauding, they would blast their horns. So it was unique. It was different. Actually, that turned into it's a Netflix. You can find it on Netflix. It's called Drive-In Comedy Special.
Okay.
And so it's been on Netflix. It's been out for about 5 or 6 months now. So if the folks want to take advantage of watching that, it's really cool. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. When they were honking, like I assume in a celebratory manner, was that kind of hard to focus? Was that hard to get used to? Because that's a lot louder, I think, than someone jeering or cheering.
Well, they weren't like there was some distance between us and the cars, but it was different. I don't think I had any problem acclimating to it, but it was just a different way of applauding and cheering. I thought that was because you don't get that opportunity very often to have people honk at you because they like you.
Yeah.
Right. And without throwing the finger. So,
yeah, I was like, I get honked at for a lot of things, but none of them are positive for sure.
Never, no, that's right. I know it's pretty cool, but yeah. So it was a lot of fun, and we were fortunate enough to turn it into a comedy special, and it got picked up on Netflix, and it's out there.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your acting career. We can take that into, forgive me, hell's coming for you, but What kind of got you into acting? What kind of sparked the bug? Was it just a happenstance? Like, oh well, I would be good for this role. Let me take it. Like, or what kind of brought you around to that?
Don't get me started. We'll be here for hours. No,
Okay.
I actually, so when so I live in Vegas now, but when we lived in Southern California, my wife had enrolled our sons as being extras, background for movies. And
Nice.
so we would go with them, and then we'd wind up being background too. I was in the Whoopi Goldberg movie. I'll think of it. It's Mad World. I'll think of it in a second. I just went blank.
Right,
But so I did a lot of background extra work, and and then some other little odds and ends. And then what got me into this role was my manager, Tim, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Every week he'd put me on the phone with somebody that had some level of famousness, some level of celebrity. And one week he put me on the phone with a Hollywood director named Mark Savage. And Mark has been doing movies since the 80s. And Mark is an incredible director. So we got to talking, and during the phone conversation, he says, "Hey, send me your headshot and your resume." So I emailed it to him while we were talking, and we talked for a little while longer, maybe about an hour. And he goes, I'd like to do a movie with you. I go, okay,
Awesome.
sure. And you know how Hollywood is. It's Hollywood talk. So I just kind of brushed it off. Well, 3 months later, Mark and Tim Chismar and I are sitting in my garage writing the script for this movie. And I'm thinking, this is really weird. I've never had this experience before. And then we worked our butts off to get it funded. And then we hired the cast and crew, and we shot that thing. And it's been quite a deal. But the short answer to your question is I was just in the right place at the right time. And
and had the skills, right? I mean, I don't think they give movies to everybody, my friend. Like, you did great. Yeah.
So did you watch the movie?
Not yet. I want to though.
Well, you've seen the trailer for it. So
Yep. I was about to say the music was intense. That was the most intense music I've seen or heard in a while.
It was great. They did a great job with the music and stuff. I really liked it. It was a very difficult thing because, again, I'm older. I did a comedy show my birthday was last week, and I did a comedy show the night.
Happy birthday.
And I people want to know how old I was, and I don't want to tell people how old I am. So I did it this way. I said, I'm 25,936 days old. And I figured if they can do the math, then they deserve to know how old I am. I'm an older guy. And the hardest thing for me to do is memorize stuff. And, we did probably 100 scenes for the movie. And I'm in a majority of the scenes. And so there's dialogue in most of those scenes. And I had to memorize. So that was a challenge because it was a challenge, but I did it. It turned out well, but it was an incredible experience. And I'm very grateful to have been selected to do that. So just, do you want me to talk about the premise of the movie or anything like that?
I love whatever you want to get into, but I'd love to hear your part of it, any of the backstory to the movie. Like, we can get to everything, nuts and bolts of it, however deep you want to go into it.
Sure. So, basically, we wrote the movie around me. I'm disabled. I'm on a mobility scooter. And so we didn't want to make something that wasn't realistic. So we made this role, and the character's name is Liam Gunter Hell. And we did a little research. And in Germany, Hell is a common last name. So we thought, hey, that's pretty cool. So then we said, well, we need a title that's appropriate. So we thought, Hell, Hell's Coming for You sounds like a pretty good deal. So we wrote the script around me and my mobility scooter, and Liam Gunter Hell is a world famous international bounty hunter, number one in his craft, and he has an assistant, Edward D. Pine Jr., played by my friend Tim Chismar, and so it's a story of Liam decided that he wanted to give that life up and retire to suburbia, so they did. He did, and met the girl across the street, a single mom who had an abusive boyfriend, and so it's a story. There's many little plot lines going through this thing, and so Liam had retired and thought he was going to live happily ever after, and then he learns that several years ago Liam's wife was killed in a hot air balloon. She was shot. and so that Liam was now a widower, and so Liam gets a phone call that from the person that was the shooter, and it was discovered that some of Liam's closest allies and friends were behind that. So it turns into a revenge vendetta, and Liam goes and takes care of the former friends. So
I love that plot. I'm a big fan of revenge, so that sounds very exciting.
It's one of the things you'll find when you watch the movie is just when you think it's ending, because I'm a comedian, and so we wrote in a scene where my love interest doesn't know that I do comedy, and I take her to a comedy club one night, and I'm the headliner, and so the audience thinks that that's the end of the movie at the end of that, but no, it continues on with another little plot twist that I won't spoil. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, 12-hour days. And just oh my gosh, but the crew and the cast and the crew that we hired were phenomenal. It was a great team. Everybody got along really well. It was a lot of fun. Have you been involved in a movie?
No, I'd love to, but no, the closest I've gotten to movies is talking to folks that make movies.
Yeah, it's an experience. If you ever get an opportunity to do that, it's a lot of hard work, but it's an incredible reward.
That's awesome. That's great. So it seems like you were a part of like the whole process from like soup to nuts, the whole deal, right? So what was the hardest thing, probably besides acting, that you noticed or you weren't really expecting, or what kind of things kind of come up that you didn't really know were going to happen until you kind of at the back end of it? Was it financing? Was it other stuff?
That was very difficult because you have to do a pitch to investors. And you think that you have a great pitch set up, and they go, "Oh yeah, that's good, but no, we're not interested." So, oh my gosh! So it's the rule of 100. You ask 100 people, and one of them will say yes, hopefully. Sure. So we did that. We pitched to a lot of folks, and we finally got the funding to do the movie. And but the hardest, the thing that I shouldn't say surprised me, but so we started shooting the movie 2 weeks after the Alec Baldwin incident.
Oh man.
Yes.
There's probably a lot of scrutiny on any guns on the set. Holy cow.
Yep, absolutely. So we really went to extremes to make sure that everything was safe. Every day we'd brief every day, and there were absolutely no bullets within 5 miles of any guns. We made sure of that. We had 2 armorers, and so everything was double checked, triple checked. And every once in a while there would be some, "Oh, are you sure this is safe?" And so we would spend a lot of time trying to calm people down. So what surprised me, or what kind of I looked at was, we had everything all set, and then it would just keep raising its ugly head again. And we'd have to calm everybody down because people were really, really nervous, and I can understand that. But we got through it. Everybody understood, and we got through it, and it turned out well. You'll see when you see the movie.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. No, this is gonna be great. You mentioned Tim, man. He's such a good dude. We interviewed him, I think, last year. I really enjoyed talking with him. I mean, it sounds like he's been a manager for you. How did that relationship kind of get sparked? Was it just a random email? Was it a random something else? You know what I mean?
I was doing some podcasts, and I had a podcast series about 3 years ago, and my partner would bring somebody different every night for me to interview. And one night he brought Tim Chismar, who he just happened to have met at church. And so I interviewed Tim, and we just hit it off. I called him and during the interview, he mentioned that he did management and he worked with people. And so I called him a few days later and said, "Hey, look, I'm looking for a manager. Can you do that?" And that started our relationship. And I got to tell you, Tim is the best cheerleader you could ever have in your entire life. He is. I've never seen anybody with so much energy and so much drive. He is absolutely amazing. Well, you know him. You've talked to him. You know.
Yeah, he's great. I really enjoyed talking to him. Yeah. But Also, sorry not to pivot too hard, but I wanted to bring up your parody music because I did listen to that and it cracked me up, man.
Which one? Did you listen to all of them? I think I have 6 of them now, 5 or 6.
I got to, I think at least 3. I got to, the ones on your website. I went through those, but oh man, the handicap man can like crack me up. There was a couple more, I think, but like, oh man, I was just like, I wasn't ready for this, but this is really good.
My goal there is to have an album. I want to get like 8 or 9 parody songs. I have a guy that he lives in, oh gosh, I don't remember where he lives, LA somewhere. And he puts it to music and we collaborate on lyrics. And so my goal is I'm going to have a CD with some of my comedy sketches on there, as well as the parody songs. And so that's what we're working towards. And if you go out to my website, DillionDilligaf.com, there's a link there for the parody songs, and you can listen to them. We have one that we did animation to. And
did you? Oh, okay. Oh, wait, I think I saw that. Are you on a scooter just kind of going by? Oh man, I liked it.
Yeah, it's the who can park in blue zones? The handicap man can.
Yeah.
So he's done a really good job with doing the parody songs, and there's a few more coming down the stream. So when we get about 8 of them or so, there we're gonna put a CD together, and then I'll have merch to sell at the end of my set.
You should add. Sorry, this is a total tangent, but the middle finger seat, is that a shirt? If it's not, you need to make it a shirt.
The slide that I have?
Yeah.
Exactly.
A shirt.
Like Dilligaf, right?
Yeah, 100%. You should do that.
That's a good idea. I'll write that down.
Yeah, I mean, I'd buy one.
Yeah, the input is great. I like it. So that'd be good merch.
Yeah, 100%. Totally.
You got to figure out some way to fund this comedy thing. It doesn't make its own money. You got to kind of do it. But,
yeah, unless you're Bill Burr. Yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah.
I should have asked that. What comedy inspirations do you have? I assume you've pulled from other folks, or not at all. Do you have just kind of your own thing?
Well, there's a lot of comics that I really like. For example, I wanted, like, probably politically incorrect to say this, but Bill Cosby was one of my all-time faves.
Sure.
And I'm old enough to remember when he first started out as a skinny little kid, and some of his earlier albums were absolutely hilarious. And so my comedy, I'm trying to get to the point where I can tell stories like he does.
Yeah.
And so he was one of my mentors. Bill Engvall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I really like Bill Engvall. George Carlin. When George Carlin first started out, he was absolutely just amazing. But my all-time favorite, and I used to get in trouble with my little group of friends because I would do this guy's set before he did. Steve Martin.
Oh man, Steve. Yeah. Okay.
All right. And I remember we went to Reno one time to see Steve Martin. There were about 6 of us. And they had to keep telling me, my friends kept telling me, shut up, because I was doing his routine before he was doing it. And it was like, you shouldn't do that, shut up.
Just elbowing you the whole time. Just quit.
I don't do, so I like that kind of humor. I don't do slapstick stuff. I might tell a couple corny jokes, but I like to do more things that make you think before you can really laugh. And one of the things I do, I calibrate the audience while I'm doing it, while I'm up there. And sometimes the audience doesn't catch your stuff right away. So I have this little ad lib that I do that I call, I say, okay. My show is on a 7-second delay. In case you don't get the jokes, I'll wait for you.
Oh, I heard that in one of your bits. It was real funny. I there was direct honking right after.
That was at the drive-in show, but that goes over really well too. Oh yeah, 7-second delay. That's pretty cool. But so I don't really copy anybody. I use people as kind of influencers, kind of like, I like that. I like that style of this, or I like this person's way of doing that. So I draw from a lot of different places. A lot of fun. Sure. It's a lot of hard work too.
Oh, I can't imagine. I can't imagine writing something down just for people to nitpick later. You know what I mean?
Oh, you've been to open mics, have you?
Yeah, that's right.
If there's other comics that they don't laugh at you, they're stealing your material.
I'm not sure how I'd handle that. I'd be very mad, I think.
It's okay. Here in Vegas, we have an incredible open mic network. Everybody is just so supportive of everybody else. It's really a great atmosphere, and comedy's making a comeback here in Vegas. It was
Awesome.
kind of dry for a while, but it's on its way back. There's a lot of comedy clubs opening, a lot of open mics, a lot of shows. It's really making a big comeback.
So speaking of clubs and places to go, is there maybe a comedy venue that you really are itching to go to and try out, and like maybe a place in Boston or the comedy club in LA, like any of those kind of speaking of places?
I want to go down and do the Improv.
Okay.
And then I have this. It kind of ties into what you asked. I have this show that I produced. I wrote. I conceived it. It's called the Blue Zone Comedy Tour, and very very similar to the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Yeah.
My comedians are they'll have disabilities.
Gotcha.
And so I shouldn't say all of them. Probably 80 or 90% of them have disabilities. And that's what we want to do, is we want to highlight disabled comics. And so I want to take this show out on the road. And we've done a couple of shows here in Vegas, and they've turned out really well. We've got great reviews from them. So when you ask about what venues I'd like to perform, I'd like to take my own venue and go on a road trip.
Heck yeah.
So we're looking at later this year, maybe having a 10 stop road tour for the Blue Zone Comedy Tour. And yes, we're hoping to get that going. But yeah, I want to be on a big stage somewhere where I sell out 50,000 people.
I hope so. Please tell me you do. It'd be great.
Bill Burr, he does that all the time. So yeah, that's my goal. I'll make it. Sure. Rodney Dangerfield didn't start his career till he was my age,
and he crushed it. Rodney Dangerfield was so funny. You got it. I believe you.
He didn't even start till he was 70. And so
I didn't know that. That's why.
Yeah. So there's hope for me, right?
There's always hope for you, buddy. You're going to do great. You're already doing great. What do you mean? What do I mean? Sorry, I'm tangentially going crazy here. I'll cut this part out.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm really happy with where I am right now. A lot of the comedians that I started with, they work at it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And, I'm on a marathon. I'm not on a sprint.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have to go back and redo stuff. So I take my time, and people keep saying, you ought to do this, you ought to do this. Well, I'm kind of guy, a marathon. I'm here for the long run.
Yeah, and it has to help. You have like a plethora of life that's outside of comedy to draw from, right? You had whatever your career prior to comedy, and now whatever you did with your wife, right? And then just starting off comedy, like there's a lot of life there to draw from, right? And I'm not sure comedians that they don't have that, right? Like Kevin Hart started when he was like, what, 15, 16? Like all he's done is comedy. Like you have a whole different life and like knowledge set that people don't have.
Yeah, I do have a lot of experiences, My wife and I, we went on 55 cruises.
Oh.
And, there's a lot of material that I draw from on cruise stuff. That's one of my goals is to get a slot on
cruise gig.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Every time we'd be on a cruise, I always wind up having lunch with the comedians or whatever. And so that's been kind of one of my objectives is to get a cruise ship slot. But, one of the funny things I do say about cruising is, so when you're on a cruise and the boat's rocking, in a storm or whatever, I just put the scooter in neutral and I roll all over that ship. I'm in the front, in the back, up on the poop deck. I'm everywhere. I'm having a blast. The ship's rocking and rolling.
By definition, Jesus take the wheel. You're just like, whatever. Wherever I go, I go.
Everybody else is green, but not me, man. I'm having a blast. But yeah, so cruise ships, I'm going to work on that. This movie thing has really taken a lot of time. So, I only have so much time in a day. So we are focusing on getting this movie out and getting it, people watching it. So that's that. But after that, I'll get back to what my objectives are.
Let's, how about your next movie is Liam at Sea? Like Hell on the High Seas, and it's just a cruise ship, and you're just doing comedy.
or I'm thinking the sequel is, what the hell were you thinking? something like that, right?
I mean, I love it already.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
So that's interesting you brought that up, Justin, because when you do see the movie, there's a lot of unanswered questions.
okay.
And
So prime for a sequel.
yeah, that's exactly right. So we're looking at a sequel or a TV series or maybe a comic book series or something as a follow-on. But there's and a lot of stuff we left open to interpretation. That's one of Mark Savage's, the director. That's one of his claims to fame is he likes to leave things open for your own interpretation. But so if we have the opportunity to do, and we're going to figure out how to do it, and we'll get it done. Is we're going to in the sequel be a lot of answers to those questions.
That's exciting. So outside of your sequel, which I hope to see for both movies, but anything else in the pipeline? Anything else you want to chat about in terms of what's next for Dillion?
Well, Dillion is working on increasing my social media presence.
Okay.
And in fact, I met with somebody yesterday who's going to help me. I shouldn't say help me. He's going to manage my social media increase. Again, I keep using this as an excuse, as a crutch. But I'm an older guy. I don't know about this social media stuff. You know, it took me forever to learn about the Google, and so my friend is he's a comedian colleague, and it's going to help me with increasing the social media. So I'm going to work on that. Plus, I've got a couple other irons in the fire. A couple of people have talked to me about doing some parts in their movies, and I'm working on that. And again, we're looking at doing the sequel to that. So lots of things coming up. Very busy.
That's really exciting. Yeah.
And
you said comic book. I really want to see a comic book of your character.
Right?
It'd be sweet.
Tim Chismar is really into comics and stuff, and so he and I have explored that quite deeply on how to do that. So look for it. It could wind up, Liam Gunter Hell comic book series.
It leans itself so well. If you're like the premier guy in your space, like it could just be every hit you've done. There's like one comic book series of you hunting someone down. Man, I'm all about it.
That's really cool. I wanted to tell you about. So let's go back. We were talking about the influencers. We talked about my comedy influencers, but we didn't talk about my movie influencers.
Yeah, please. Let's talk about it.
So there's two of them. Jessica Chastain. Do you know who she is?
I've heard the name. I'm not sure I'm familiar with her, though. Sorry.
She was in Oh Dark 30.
Okay.
Mars with, I can't think of his name, but Mars. She was in that. She is an incredible actress. She did a series last year called Scenes from a Marriage a couple years ago.
Oh, I've seen her. Okay, I just Googled her. Okay, Interstellar. Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Interstellar. Yeah. So she is absolutely one of my acting idols. She can take any part that she does, and she can become that person. And so when I was studying the role for this movie that I did for Hell's Coming for You, I looked at some of her acting and how she became that person, became that role, and that was just inspiring to me. So my other one is Liam Neeson.
Oh, perfect for your role. Yeah.
And, so he is like my role model. And when we designed the character Liam Gunter Hell, we designed him to be a guy that doesn't really talk a lot, just takes care of everything. Sort of like a lot of Liam Neeson's movies, right?
Yeah.
In fact, that the character's name, Liam Gunter Hell, is a shout out to Liam Neeson. So,
nice.
Yeah, but so he someday I'm going to get to work with both of those people. That's another one of my goals. But those are my two acting idols, basically, or mentors.
That's incredible. I hope that happens.
Yeah,
I want you to text me. I want you to, however you want to reach out to the Three Geeks podcast. I want to find out when that happens, because I'm in.
Yeah, we're going to make that happen. Yeah. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I wanted to tell you about, if I could, just real quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
So when you see the movie, the first scene is it's kind of a graphic scene, but that's the way they wanted to open it, and it's fine. It works out well. But the little red car that's in the first scene, the little amphibious car, that's my car.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. So we didn't have a massive budget for this movie, so we tried to utilize a lot of things that we already had. And so we thought, well, how can we utilize the amphicar? And so we came up with that scene for the amphicar.
That's awesome.
And plus, when we were putting this movie together, I was thinking, what if I only get to do one movie? I better get everybody involved that I can, that I know, all of the friends and family. So my oldest son is the driver of that car in the movie. And then my other son has a hot air balloon company in Sonoma. And so we did after we did all the shooting, we did another remote shoot where we went to Sonoma and we used his hot air balloon to shoot a scene. So I tried to get everybody involved because, what if I never do another movie? I got to spread the fun around, right?
For sure. And imagine the memories you just made with your sons, right? Like, man, Dad made a movie. I was a part of the movie. That's so cool.
So we're hoping that we're hoping that it really takes off. It is starting to take off. It's really getting some traction.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be cool to be like a cult film? And in 50 years,
100%.
They're showing it at midnight on a certain day of the year, and everybody dresses like Liam Gunter Hell or whatever. And that would be kind of fun to do that.
100%. All the college kids around are just driving around in mobility scooters, ready to take out their neighbor. Yeah.
Liam Neeson, his first movie was called Dark Man.
Okay.
And it is a cult film. So I don't know if you've seen it, but that was one of my assignments. I hired an acting coach to help me get ready for this movie.
Sure.
And he said, okay, so watch Liam Neeson's first movie. And if you watch that movie, you'll see the growth that Liam Neeson has. Oh my God. Just absolutely incredible. So a good motivator, good role model. Yeah, that was awesome.
That's awesome. So the character you described, have you seen the new movie? I think it's called Sisu or whatever. It's like a Finnish commando fighting Nazis. If you haven't seen it, spend 2 hours and go check it out. I think you'll dig it.
Sisu?
I think so. SISU.
Okay.
I would check it out. I think you'd like it.
I don't think it's at the theater here yet. I'll double check. I'll go see it.
I think it came out maybe last year. It just hit in theaters here in America. I think it's a Finnish movie. I could be totally off base with that, but either way, I think you'll like it.
I'll write it down because my memory, I have amnesia.
Because it's a very similar character what you described. This guy says 4 words that whole movie, but he's just killing Nazis the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, that's not my kind of movie, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you're up your valley.
Right up my alley. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, and I do all my own stunts in the movie. Let me tell you a funny stuff. There aren't.
Please. Yeah.
Stunts. So, we used my house and my neighbor's house across the street for filming for the residential scenes. And so the first day of filming, I got 20 people in my front yard. There's cameras, there's lights, there's microphones, there's technical people. And so I'm going to deliver a bunch of lines. And so we're rehearsing the scene a couple times. And Mark, the director, kept asking me to maneuver the scooter in a particular way. And so not paying attention, I rolled off the sidewalk and I tipped the scooter over and hit the ground.
Oh man, that's rough.
And yeah, it was rough. And so my elbow was bleeding, and fortunately our medic came and fixed the elbow and everything. But that was a good way to start the movie. When I looked up, oh my gosh, Justin, it was hilarious. You should have seen the look on everybody's face. It's like first day of filming, first big scene, and I crashed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, is he going to be able to finish the movie? So, it was a good way to kind of do that. So then
the ice though.
Yeah, it did. It broke that big time. Broke my arm. No. So the next day, one of the cameramen comes up to me and he whispers in my ear. He says, we got that on film. And he says, that's going to be in the blooper roll. Actually, I'm trying to get my hands on it because when I do interviews like this, I want to be able to show that because it's absolutely
great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hilarious. I'll find it somewhere. They're supposed to send it.
Yeah, if you can send it to me, I can fix it in post. I can throw it in here after the fact. Yeah.
Okay, I'll see if I can find it again.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, that was a great way. Oh my God, you should have seen. Oh, and I have to throw kudos out to Mark Savage because, Mark is an incredible director. If anybody ever gets a chance to work with Mark, he is phenomenal. Most directors they would have said, "All right, that guy can't do this. Get him off the set." Not Mark. He was absolutely nurturing and reassuring, and he was so helpful. It's because he knew how nervous I was. I mean, I'd never been a lead character in a movie. I'd done some background and some side stuff, but he was absolutely amazing. I just throw all my kudos to Mark. He's amazing.
That's awesome. We talked to him next week. I'm really excited. I'll bring up all of the kudos you mentioned. Is there anything behind the scenes I should bring up that he'd find real funny when I talk to him?
Funny?
Oh, however you want to do it. It can be a surprise. It can be whatever you want to do. It might be fun because I talked to him on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What comes to mind first of all is just how accepting he was to suggestions. My understanding of directors is my way or the highway, right? Not with Mark. Mark is like, we made suggestions on a lot of things that we were doing. And he was like, "Hey, that's a great idea." And we would incorporate it into shooting. Most directors would go, "No, that's not in the script. We're not doing that." Mm-hmm. But Mark was very accommodating. And he was like, "Hey, that'll work really well." So, and he took suggestions from everybody, cast, crew, everybody, even the caterer. No. But I can't think of anything that was.
That's okay. I it was just an idea. I was like, I talked to him in like 4 days, so it's like it might be good to.
Yeah, if I do think of something, I'll text you.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
it's not funny. But he, it was absolutely the cast and the crew and all the technical people that we put together. It was just a phenomenal thing. Everybody just worked together incredibly well. We didn't have any extra shooting days where we messed something up or pulled politics or drama or anything. Everything went absolutely smooth.
Everyone very professional, it sounds like. That's great.
No, not professional. Hell no. No, everybody worked together really well. People that, I didn't know any of these people, and they didn't know me, and we just everything just melded together, and it was awesome. Good experience.
That's great.
Yeah.
Makes me want to jump into a movie at some point in my life. That'd be great.
Awesome. Do it. Yeah, absolutely. But so where do I go from here?
Well, I just want to talk to you real quick though, just shortly about. Do you have a podcast? I think I went through your media page. How's that going? Do you still have it? Is it still going?
No, I haven't been able to go to do it, but they were. I did I think I did 45 podcasts for Tickle Me Comedy Club.
Yeah,
they're out there somewhere. And then I did a short series. I called it Chillin' with Dillion. And again, I'm not really technically expert at this. I asked this social media person to find them for me because I think it would be good to have them tagged on my Facebook page or my web page.
Yeah.
But they were called Chillin' with Dillion, and those were a lot of fun. But that's one of the things I want to do is resurrect the podcasting, because that's a lot of fun. I mean, look at you. You're having a blast. You get to talk to new people every week.
All the time. Yeah.
You get to learn about them, and you get to meet some nuts and some cool people.
100%. And you're definitely a cool person. I've really enjoyed this, Dylan. Anything else you want to call it to the folks?
No, follow me. You can follow me on Facebook, DillionDilligaf.com. You can follow me on Instagram, I believe, and also Facebook.
Nice.
And so we're slowly but surely getting this social media thing out there, and come along for the ride. It's going to be a blast.
I'm already on board. Well, thank you, Dylan, very much. And thanks, everyone, for listening. It's another Three Geeks podcast, and hopefully you have a good day. See you, everybody.
Thanks.